What's up, shit? Tim is here. Since it is, of course, election day, I decided to go ahead and do my top 10 favorite election films. Because there's some really good election movies out there, so here is my official top 10. Number 10 is the Barry Levinson political comedy satire, Wag the Dog. Of course, it centers on a spin doctor and a Hollywood producer who fabricate a war in Albania to distract voters from a presidential sex scandal here. Obviously, it is very because at the time, Bill Clinton had his little scandal, and he was obviously president at the time and all. And obviously, it took comparisons of Bill Clinton's scandal and stuff. It is a really wonderful film and all. Dustin Hoffman, Robert De Niro are both great in this. Directed by Barry Levinson, Anne Heche, Dennis Leary, Willie Nelson's in this one, William H. Macy, Craig T. Nelson. Some really great cast members. It is really intriguing, really hilarious at times. The dark comedy aspect is really good. The chemistry with Hoffman, De Niro is really great. It's a really decent film that's well worth watching there. All right, number 9 is Game Change. Game Change is, of course, directed by Meet the Parents director Jay Roach and stars Julianne Moore, and is about a dramatization of John McCain's 2008 presidential campaign, focusing on the controversial selection of Sarah Palin as his running mate. And Julianne Moore embodies Sarah Palin perfectly. I still always think that they should have gotten Tina Fey as the role because she really plays her well as well. But Julianne Moore still did a wonderful job. You also do got Woody Harrelson. Ed Harris is really good here as John McClane and all. I mean, it's such a really decent one. Great performances. I think I could be mistaken, but I think Julianne Moore they got a couple of Emmy nominations for this, and well deserved there because she did a pretty good job, say the least. Obviously this came out about a couple years after the of course after the election stuff of John McCain and Sarah Palin, and it's a really decent one. I mean, good cast here. You had Ron Livingston, Sarah Paulson's great in this. Woody Harrelson plays Stephen Smith. Really good performance there too. Really decent film there. All right, number 8 is Head of State. Now, Head of State is, of course, directed by Chris Rock, who also stars in it. And it stars Chris Rock, Bernie Mac, about this low-level Washington, D.C. element who is unexpectedly chosen as a presidential candidate. And Chris Rock, did such a really good job in this one. He directed it really well. Bernie Mac is really good. Has, some fun. It's a really fun political comedy that is well worth a watch there. All right, number 7 is The Ides of March. Of course, directed by George Clooney, who also stars in it. Now, I know he's getting a lot of... he's getting a lot of political... He's getting really political nowadays, but... Still, George Clooney, take his political comments aside, whatever. I still like George Clooney. I think he is always incredible. Of course, you got Ryan Gosling, Phil Seymour Hoffman, Paul Giamatti, Marissa Tomei, Evan Rachel Wood, and it's about a young campaign press secretary who gets caught in the more gray area of politics while working for a presidential candidate. And this movie is excellent. Great. Of course, George Clooney did a good job directing. Ryan Gosling's great in this. Phil Seymour Hoffman was great. Of course, this came out pretty much a year before the presidential election, presidential election at that time, and it's a really good one. George Clooney, again, he really I think he should really stay out of politics in real life, but he did a really good job with politics with this one, and did a good job there. Ryan Gosling was great in this as well. Really, really good little film if you guys haven't seen it. All right, number 6. It's actually a school election, but hey, election's election, right? Number 6, Vote for Pedro, and that is Napoleon Dynamite. This is technically, obviously, an election movie. It is, of course, about, Napoleon Dynamite, who helps his new friend Pedro run for class president, And obviously, the biggest campaign is always vote for Pedro. That became the major turning point of Napoleon Dynamite. One of the most iconic lines of Napoleon Dynamite, really. And Napoleon Dynamite is just one of the funniest comedies there is. You know, John Hetter's great. Effa Ramirez as Pedro's terrific. You know, you got Haley Duff is in this. It's such a really good one. I always love Napoleon Dynamite. I mean, him trying to help his friend, become class president, and is really great. And obviously, it's a small scale. Of course, about a small scale, take on small scale elections, friendship, and yeah, Napoleon Dynamite is always the best. Number 5 is Primary Colors. Obviously, this is loosely based on Bill Clinton's presidential, 1992 campaign, and it's where like a suffering governor runs for president, charming voters while his campaign staff struggles to keep his personal scandals hidden and all. You got John Travolta, Emma Thompson, Kathy Bates, Billy Bob Thornton. The late Diane Ladd was also in this. It's such a really good one. Mike Nichols directed this. Good job there. Again, it's not really a biopic about Bill Clinton per se. Like, John Travolta is not playing Bill Clinton. He's just playing like a version of Bill Clinton, really. Like, his character's name is not Bill Clinton, nothing. But you can definitely see the similarities to the Bill Clinton campaign, and it's a really decent film that's well worth watching there. Alright, number 4 is The Maturing Candidate. Now, I'm probably going to go with the original, actually. The remake is really good, too, the one with Denzel Washington. Of course, the remake also had, like, Meryl Streep, Leo Schreiber, really good remake. But the original, you had Lawrence Harvey, Janet Leigh, Frank Sinatra. It is, of course, directed by the great John Frankenheimer. Chilling Cold War thriller about a Korean veteran brainwashed into becoming a unwitting assassin to a communist plot here. And the movie is really intriguing. Frank Sinatra, obviously, famous singer, but he's ventured into acting before, and he did a good job with this one. Angela Lansbury was terrific. It's a really decent film. I mean, obviously, political climate has changed rapidly since 1962 and stuff, but yeah, Maturing Candidate is a really cool one as well worth watching there. Alright. Number 3 is The Candidate. Now, I actually got 2 Robert Redford movies on this list, but number 3 is The Candidate. Of course, directed by Michael Ritchie, starring Peter Boyle, Robert Redford, about a charismatic but idealistic lawyer who is persuaded to run for senator of California. And as his campaign, gains traction, he must balance his morals against realities of political compromise and all. And Robert Redford did a really good job in this. Gave a good performance. Melvin Douglas is great. Peter Boyle, it's such a really decent one. Released in 1972. It's not like one of the greatest films there is, but it's a really interesting political movie that's well worth watching. Alright, speaking of Robert Redford, obviously, number 2 is All the President's Men. Of course, starring Robert Redford, the aforementioned Dustin Hoffman, Jack Warden, Jason Robards, directed by Clute director Alan J. Pakula. It is, of course, a true story of Washington Post reporters Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, who uncovers the Watergate scandal that ended up bringing down Nixon. And it's a really interesting, political turmoil here. Great film about journalism as well. Great performances by Redford. Probably his best performance, in my opinion. Hoffman is great in this. It's such a really good one, and that's well worth watching there. And my number 1 favorite election movie is, Election. Of course, directed by Alexander Payne, starring Reese Witherspoon, Matthew Broderick, Chris Klein. It's of course about a short-lived high school student named Tracy Flick, who is determined to win class president, clashes with her teacher, Jim McAllister's moral meddling here. And it's a really decent film about, the race spawns into hilarious dark commentary on politics, ethics, ambitions. I guess you could say this is one of the films that really put Reese Witherspoon on the map for most people. Matthew Broderick was great in this. Chris Klein. It's such a really fun film about school elections, and it's a really decent one there. I wonder if we're still ever gonna get that sequel, but anyway. That's pretty much it. Here is my quick rundown. Number 10, Wag the Dog. 9, Game Change. 8, Head of State. 7, The Ida March. 6, Napoleon Dynamite. 5, Primary Colors. 4, The Maturing Candidate. 3, The Candidate. 2, All the President's Men. And number 1 is Election. Now, there's a couple of honorable mentions. The RFK film called Bobby was a pretty good one. A couple of other honorable mentions. Bulworth, which is the Warren Beatty film, with Warren Beatty, Halle Berry. That's a really good one. The John Cusack film True Colors. The movie Dave with Kevin Kline. That's a really good one. The American Presidents. Bob Roberts is a good one. The Front Runner. Some really other great ones I could have added. But let me ask you guys, what are some of your favorite election movies? Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Timmy.